When I'm not thanking Apple for reminding me just how exciting it is to celebrate the obsolescence of my current and expensive technology, I like to answer questions that I get on YouTube, so let's get to it. Your purple is cool, little princess. I'm playing the Hendrix A minor shape and the Hendrix E major shape, blazing up and down the fretboard and thinking in terms of modes. Playing the 2-3-6 chords on the strings 1-2-3 sliding, then playing 1-4-5 on the strings 2-3-4 sliding. Can you teach a lesson on this topic? I think this is a great way to start connecting different chords, right? One thing that I talked about in the lesson last week was chord scales and how, if you really want to kind of fill in gaps in your music theory, think of all the notes in G major, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, and then play them as full extended chord scales. But I think before that, a lot of beginners might struggle with a lot of these shapes because they can be kind of difficult to play. But one thing that we should all spend more time on, if you're having trouble with this, is just thinking of the easiest way to play certain triads. And the spirit of this question is thinking of all the minor chords as being played on the highest 3 strings, and all the major chords being played on the B string, G string, and D string, okay? So what I mean by this, let's stay in the key of G, the people's key. The one chord, we can play like this. So we got a G, 5th fret on the D string, we have a B, 4th fret on the G string, and a D, 3rd fret on the B string. Okay, so this is just a triad, a major chord, and you can apply this to the G chord, the C chord, or the D major chord. All the major chords are going to be right here. You can think of them in intervals, the spaces between them, and use the same shape. All right, so here's the one chord. I'm thinking of a root note here on the 5th fret, and then I slide that all the way to the 10th fret, so maybe 5 frets higher would be a good way to think of that. And then 2 frets higher from that is the 5 chord. 1, 4, 5. But aside from that, we can use the minor chords in this key to connect them, okay? So the minor chords in the key of G occur on the 2nd, 3rd, and 6th notes, okay? So G, A, B, A and B are minor chords. If we just use the highest 3 strings, we get the 5th fret and the 7th fret. And the nice thing about starting here, we can really pretty easily play the 2nd and 3rd chords in the key, right? 1, 2, 3. Rocking the D'Angelico Mini, by the way. Affiliate link in the description if you guys are interested. So 1, 2, 3. And that really kind of slides us into 4, 5, and then 6 is going to be really, if you just take that 5 chord and lay your ring finger down, that's the same fret as the 6th chord, okay? So, G major, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor. And that can bring you all the way back to the octave G, right? So, one way to kind of just slide in and out between them, but a little bit like what I was talking about in my lesson last week, is you can actually use those as just seeing notes that are available to you to play around in the same chord. So if I'm just doing something in the key of G, I can think of these, the 2 and the 3 chord, almost as like a little 6-note scale, right? So instead of going 5, 5, 5, 7, 7, 7, I can go 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7. And then now, any of these can be extensions from that one chord. Right, so right there, I think the spirit of this question was something kind of Hendrixy related. As far as like sliding through these, I don't really see his style as being just kind of like moving through these shapes. But I definitely can see a lot of his style being used in inflections on these shapes from where we're talking about, right? Like if we have a G chord, that could be a Hendrixian type move where we have a G major, and then remember, anything on the 5th and 7th fret is fair game. So I can take my middle finger and hammer on and off just to that 5th fret. And then that's kind of like a G thing. Okay, so again, I don't know if that's like a Hendrixian style really, but it really is a cool way to kind of connect different chords, right? So maybe one thing that you could take from this in any key is wherever the one chord is, if this is your triad, think of laying down your ring finger, and then you'll get the 2, 3 chords just right there. And that kind of, I'm thinking of it leading me diagonally into the 4 chord, 5 chord, and then lay it down again, right? Okay? And also you can kind of use this to experiment and get different cool sounds, right? Any major chord, if you just play it with your ring finger leading on the D string root and you just lay it straight down, I think it can come up with some cool stuff, right? So where this wouldn't work technically in a key is on the 4 chord. Because remember, this 4 to 5, major, major, if you laid it down, that would give you a minor chord on the 5. But I think a minor 5 chord is something that sounds really cool, like, right? It's supposed to be major, but I just think it sounds kind of cool, right? So just a different way to look at stuff, and something that I think any beginner can really kind of wrap their head around, because it's pretty easy to voice those chords.
This on this dude's out-of-tune guitar, I don't think bluegrass is what he thinks it is.
So this is on a short I did about how to like master bluegrass in 1 minute, okay? So if you've been living in a cave, you haven't seen these YouTube shorts, right? Where YouTube is, I guess, paying for content, or at least trying to entice people to make more content where it's like a minute or shorter. So I was like, okay, you know, I think if I talk super fast, I can fit 5 bluegrass tips that I learned into a minute. So I actually practiced this lesson. I'm like, if I talk super fast, and I talk fast enough as it is, as you people already know, but if I really ramp it up, I can fit all these tips into a minute. So I did it to the best of my ability. I think I tracked that lesson probably like 4 or 5 times. And the 5th time, I got it perfect, but it was like 64 seconds, right? And I was using a carbon fiber guitar, which, you know, sounds fine, but it's not like a bluegrass guitar. So I'm like, all right, I can't do this video any faster. So I just used editing software to condense the time from 64 seconds to 59 seconds, right? So when it does that, it affects the pitch a little bit. And it's kind of funny because, like, to me, it didn't really sound that, but it didn't sound in tune because I varispeed pitched it. But man, of course that's the video that like takes off. A lot of the time, YouTube will just give you feedback that you should be posting this at a certain time, right? Once you're into the algo, once you're deep into it, like I am, it's like YouTube will send you these subtle reminders like, oh, it's probably time to post a short. So to a certain extent, a lot of this stuff seems like disposable content for creators, and I don't have any anticipation of it taking off. Like, what goes viral is always like a huge surprise to me, you know? So of course, the 2 best performing videos on my channel for the last year have been the out of tune, varispeed pitch corrected bluegrass lesson, and me playing with that opera singer, Elizabeth from the Charismatic Voice. That thing's at like 1 million some views now. And the story behind that whole video, which I've talked about in the past, is that was at NAMM. I couldn't even hear the guitar. So it was definitely out of tune because it's in like the dusty basement at NAMM. I couldn't monitor myself. I didn't even know that I was playing the wrong chords. It was so loud. And she just starts singing so loudly that it just drowns out everything. So I'm just kind of like, oh, okay. And of course, that video takes off. It's like, this idiot needs to learn how to tune his guitar. But of course, they have like the direct out from that carbon fiber guitar, and it just looks like I'm just a total idiot. So as always, the dumber I look in the video, the better chances it has of going completely viral. And thank you YouTube for that. What was your best and your worst gig? You know what's funny? It's the best and the worst gigs kind of coalesce into just one thing for me. Usually if something super weird or bad happens, I enjoy myself more just because it's weird. I thrive in awkward situations. So when it comes to like the best or the worst one, like when I think of that, the best actual gig I had was me and Kindred did this show at this like classy upscale restaurant once. It was the first time we ever did it. And this was back when we were playing almost every night. But we were doing like a lot of like acoustic duo, like kind of like upbeat, like dance party, like bar type siesta key type stuff. So Those things are draining. Like a 3-hour, like up-tempo, just acoustic guitar and a singer set is, you know, it's definitely a feat of athleticism more than it is even musicianship. But we went to this upscale restaurant for the first time, and they just wanted something super low-key and chill, and we just kind of sat there just like, turn the tone down. And we're just like jazzing it, like jazz style versions of like everything. And it was like so well received by everybody that it was like the best. It finally felt like our peak show of what we were able to do had found a home, and it was an awesome experience, right? But then what I think of is like, all right, I have that where it's like, wow, playing music was actually just like a relaxing, enjoyable time. But a more memorable time would have been when me and Drea were playing Classico and a hurricane descended upon the town. And we were the only restaurant that was left open. I vlogged this actually. We're the only restaurant that was actually open. Everybody else was shut down, but the manager there made it like a point of pride that we're not closing our doors even when things get dangerous. And that night was wild. So I have a lot of fond memories of that gig, but I don't know if it was like the best gig. Worst gig ever was actually at that same restaurant. There've been a lot of worst gigs. Usually it has to do with just extreme heat, where I'm either just becoming delirious performing outdoors in the Florida heat in the summer or something, or man, I remember we had a 6-hour show on New Year's Eve one year. I may have told the story before, but so again, this is me and Kindred again. 6 hours. All right. So again, we were compensated very generously for this gig, so it was cool. It's New Year's. Usually, you get a premium on New Year's Eve, but 6 hours is a long set, right? And you know, you get like a 15-minute break every 2 hours or whatever. But hour one, like maybe 20 minutes into it, it's super loud. There was like a DJ right outside in the street that it was just like 4 on the floor bass sub just like hitting you that I could like feel through the door. So I'm trying to keep my own time, but this like steady dance beat sub is just kind of like messing with my brain the whole time. And Kindred and I are both vegan, right? But she is the kind of vegan who's like pretty bothered when she sees non-vegan things happen, whereas I'm just chilling most of the time. And one of the waitresses right away, like 20 minutes into our 6-hour marathon set, brought by like super close to us because there was no room for us even, so the servers were kind of squeezing by us, had a tray with one of those roasted like baby pigs with an apple in its mouth, and it looked like pretty disgusting even for me, and I'm not bothered by like anything really, but I was just like, oh no. And Kindred saw it and she was just like catatonic, like she was out, and I'm like, oh no, we have 5 hours and 40 more minutes. And I just lost my singer. So that was definitely probably like the worst gig ever, because that was just a marathon, and I try, you know, I can sing songs for a while, so I tried taking over for a little bit, and she was able to rally and get back to it, but that was a tough gig for sure. Listening homework, I'm going to throw you to my guy, Leon Bridges. Such an awesome singer. I really love a lot of the arrangements of his songs. Very, very modern, soulful type music. So definitely check him out. Like I said, check out the D'Angelico affiliate link in the description. If you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website, and I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks a lot.